In a small village surrounded by green fields and quiet streams, there lived two childhood friends. One of them was a barber, known for his quick hands with scissors, and the other was a Halwai, famous in name only for sweets he hardly ever made. Though they belonged to two different professions, they were bound by a strong friendship and one very bad habit. Both of them were incredibly lazy. They disliked work so much that even the thought of lifting a comb or lighting a stove tired them out. The barber's shop stood under an old banyan tree near the market square. People would come in the mornings and evenings to get their hair trimmed or their beards shaped, but instead of welcoming his customers, the barber would wave his hand lazily and say, "Brother, come tomorrow. Today I'm not in the mood. My hands feel heavy, and my mind is not steady." If someone insisted, he would come up with another excuse, like pretending his razor was blunt or saying he had to attend some urgent gathering. Many of his customers got fed up and started going to the next village for haircuts, but the barber did not care. He felt proud of spending the day in idleness, sitting on his charpoy and sipping sweet tea. The Halwai shop was no different. At first glance, it looked attractive with a few empty trays and some jars filled with stale sweets. But whenever a customer arrived to buy fresh jalebi or laddu, the Halwai would wrinkle his nose and say, "Oh no, sugar is finished. Come tomorrow." Sometimes he would claim that his stomach hurt, or his stove had broken down, or that he was simply too tired to cook. The villagers at first laughed at his excuses, but gradually they grew annoyed. Still, the Halwai did not change his ways. He preferred to spend his days lounging under the shade of a neem tree, gossiping with his barber friend, and munching on whatever little food he had left at home. The two friends were inseparable. Every morning, instead of opening their shops properly, they would meet at the canal bank. They would stretch out on the soft grass, watch the birds flying above, and talk for hours about everything except work. Sometimes they wandered into the mango orchards, plucking fruit and eating it till their stomachs ached. Other times, they sat by the river, throwing stones into the water and imagining grand dreams of wealth and luxury that never required effort. They laughed at those who sweated in the fields or stood for hours behind counters, believing themselves to be clever for avoiding such hardship. The villagers, however, did not think the same. They often whispered among themselves, "These two are a pair of fools. God has given them work to earn their bread, but they waste their days in laziness. How long can anyone live like this?" But neither the barber nor the Halwai paid attention to such words. In their hearts, they believed life was meant for comfort, not for labor. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned red, the barber leaned back against a tree and sighed. "My friend," he said, "this work of cutting hair is really not for me. Every time I pick up the scissors, my hand feels like stone. I wish there was a way to earn money without sweating like the farmers or standing all day like the shopkeepers." The Halwai chuckled and replied, "You have spoken my heart. Cooking sweets, frying them, dealing with greedy customers, it is all too much for me. If only we could find a way to fill our pockets without moving a finger." They both laughed at the thought, though deep down they knew such dreams were dangerous. Yet laziness had already made their minds restless. They began to imagine tricks and shortcuts, little schemes that would bring them money while keeping them free from the chains of honest work. That night, as they parted ways, the barber said softly, "Tomorrow, let us meet again. I have an idea. Maybe we have been thinking the wrong way all this time. Perhaps there is a way to live without hard labor, and still enjoy the respect of the village." The Halwai's eyes sparkled in the fading light. "Yes," he said. "Let us put our heads together. We are clever men. Why waste our lives in shops that we hate? Let us find a smarter path." And so, without realizing the trouble they were about to invite upon themselves, the two lazy friends took the first step toward a plan that would soon test their friendship, their reputation, and their future in the village. One afternoon, as the sun was dipping low and the air smelled of dust and smoke from evening fires, the barber sat lazily outside his empty shop. His friend, the Halwai, wandered over, carrying nothing but a half-eaten piece of bread. They both looked weary, not from work, but from doing nothing at all. After a long silence, the barber suddenly leaned forward, his eyes shining with a mischievous thought. "My friend," he said, lowering his voice as though he were about to reveal a grand secret, "why do we waste our time? We are clever men, far too clever for these ordinary trades. I with my scissors, you with your sweets, these are not worthy of us. Why not use our cleverness to fool the villagers and take their money without lifting a finger?" The Halwai's face lit up with a grin. "Exactly, I have often thought the same. Why should we sweat in front of stoves or bend our backs behind counters? Let us think of something that makes the villagers come running to us with their coins in hand. Something so convincing that they beg to give us money." The two men laughed at the brilliance of their own idea. By the time the lamps were being lit across the village, they had devised a plan. The barber would announce that he had obtained a miraculous oil, a secret brought to him by a wandering saint. This oil, he would declare, had the power to grow hair even on the baldest head. Men young and old who feared losing their hair would rush to him in hope. Meanwhile, the Halwai would spread news of a wonder sweet, a sweet so pure and powerful that whoever ate it would never fall ill. It would be safe for children, safe for the elderly, safe even for those whose stomachs were weak. They imagined crowds at their shops, coins clinking into their pockets, and a life of ease without toil. The very next morning the barber began his act. He placed a small bottle of ordinary mustard oil on his counter, polished it until it gleamed, and sat proudly in front of it. When curious villagers passed by, he called out, "Come, come. See what I have brought, a miracle oil, blessed by a saint. Rub it on your head, and hair will grow as thick as the fields of wheat. Baldness will vanish, age will disappear, and you will look young again." To make his claim stronger, he rubbed a little oil on his own head and declared, "Look at my hair, darker already, fuller already." The villagers peered closely, and though nothing had changed, a few hopeful men decided to try it. They handed him coins and left with small bottles, their hearts full of expectation. The Halwai, on the other hand, filled his trays with hastily made sweets, made from the cheapest flour and syrup he could find. Standing proudly, he cried out, "Step forward, good people. Taste my miracle ladus, blessed with health and protection. Eat them, and you shall never fall ill. No stomach aches, no weakness, no fevers, only strength and joy." His words sounded so confident that a number of villagers believed him. They bought his sweets eagerly, some even feeding them to their children at once. For a short while, everything went as the two friends had dreamed. The barber jingled coins in his pocket and imagined a future where he never had to lift scissors again. The Halwai licked syrup from his fingers and thought of himself as a man destined for riches. They boasted to each other about their success, praising their cleverness and mocking the villagers for being so simple. But the truth has a way of revealing itself, and lies do not stay hidden for long. Within days the complaints began. The barber's first customers returned, their bald heads just as shiny as before. "Where is this miracle you promised?" one demanded angrily. "Not a single hair has grown." Another pointed at his head and shouted, "I see no change at all. You cheated me." The barber stammered excuses, claiming that the oil worked slowly, that patience was needed, that true results took weeks. But the villagers were not convinced. Their eyes were sharp with suspicion, their voices heavy with anger. Meanwhile, the Halwai sweets brought even worse consequences. Several children who had eaten them complained of stomach pains, and an old man who devoured too many suffered from fever and weakness. Fear spread quickly through the village. "The Halwai has poisoned us," some cried. "He has sold us lies and sickness." Families stopped buying from him at once, warning one another to stay away from his shop. What had started as eager curiosity turned swiftly into hatred and distrust. One evening, unable to bear the trickery any longer, the villagers gathered in the market square. They dragged the barber and the Halwai before them, standing them side by side under the gaze of the entire community. An elder of the village spoke with stern authority. You two had work given to you by God, honest work that could feed you with dignity. But instead of laboring with your hands, you chose deceit. You tricked us with false promises, and for a few coins, you threw away your honor. From today, no one in this village will trust you. Your shops are finished, your names are stained, and your schemes will bring you nothing but disgrace. The barber and the Halwai hung their heads in shame. The crowd's anger was heavy upon them, and they realized that all their boasting had come to nothing. Their dream of easy wealth had collapsed like a house of straw in the wind. Coins had slipped from their fingers, and all that remained was emptiness. That night, the two friends sat beneath the old banyan tree, the same place where their foolish idea had first taken root. The barber sighed deeply. We thought ourselves wise, but we were nothing but fools. Our laziness and greed have brought us here. The Halwai nodded miserably. Yes, my friend, we sought riches without work, but what we gained is only shame. It is true what the elders say. Deceit may shine for a day, but it burns out quickly. Only honest work brings lasting bread and respect. The stars looked down coldly, and the village lay quiet around them. At last, both men understood a truth they had long ignored, that there is no sweetness in lies, and no growth in idleness. Honor and livelihood are born only from the sweat of honest labor.